Everyone, welcome to Ken. This is Money Talk Part 2. Ken is a money genius. He runs the humblepenny.com and he literally is a living inspiration to me. So we're going to cut all the formalities this morning and get down to questions so we can get everyone's questions answered. But do you want to say anything first, Ken?
No, just hi guys. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining this call. Really excited to be doing it.
Wicked. Okay, so this is not in order of importance, but the top question I've got here is, what financial advice would you give to a new graduate? So I'm guessing someone may have student debt, maybe just looking at a new job, a new career, that kind of thing. What kind of advice would you give to somebody as a new student or a new graduate?
Okay, so there's so many things. Oh, hi. I'm looking at some of the comments. So first of all, I'd say if you're newly graduated, most of all, your net worth will probably have mostly liabilities on it. So you mostly have student loan debt. My top advice to anybody who's just graduated is, if you are in good terms with your parents, move back home and live with your parents. The reason I say that is because a lot of us, when we finish schooling, we finish university, typically want to move out and start our own lives. And my experience of that, and of other people I know, is that you're much better off actually moving back home and saving as much money as possible. You can contribute to your parents' expenses and that sort of stuff, but you want to move home and be saving at least 50% of your income, if you're getting an income, okay? If you are graduated but haven't got a job yet, what you really want to be trying to do is, if you can't get a job and you've been trying, is to try and volunteer somewhere. So you want to demonstrate that the time that you're currently not working, waiting to start employment, that you're doing something that will lead you in some way towards your chosen career path. So it might be that you volunteer somewhere, go there and make the teas, give them the biscuits, do whatever you have to do, but with a long-term goal that you potentially might be asking them for some employment, okay? Now, I made some other notes. I really wanted this is a very important point that I wanted a lot of people to really reflect on. And the point is this, right? I wish I did this when I just graduated. What I would have done is agreed with myself that I'd commit 2 hours of my day, 7 days a week, towards exploring a radical idea that's different to what I would be exploring in my chosen career path. So whether you're training to be, I don't know, an engineer, lawyer, nurse, what have you, I would say try and find 2 hours in a day to dedicate to something that's radically different to what you've chosen to do. Okay. The final thing I'd mention to some of these guys is start to pay attention to your credit report as early as in your 20s. So you want to start to do things that mean that you're building a bit of a credit profile. It might be that you start to possibly use a credit card, but using it in the right way, in that if you use a credit card, you want to be paying off those balances by the end of every single month. Something radical I'd mention as well to everybody who's in their 20s, who just finished university, is that you should go and buy your own domain name. Whatever your name is, go right now and pick that domain name and pay for it in .com or .co.uk. I personally prefer .com. You can grab a domain name for free with some websites. My wife is probably on the call. She might be able to share a link. But the reason for that is, as we go into the future, a lot more people will rely on their ability and on their own personal brands in order to help themselves generate alternative sources of income. So you want to start as early as you can, grabbing those names, grabbing those domain names, and beginning that journey as quickly as possible.
Good. So the first bit I think you said is probably one that takes a bit of humbling from some of us who don't want to potentially go back home.
Yes.
We might want to kind of have the life that looks like we've made it, or not even made it, but we just don't fancy going from being at university, having lived a great life and doing your own freedom thing, and then coming home and being back under mum and dad's roof. But I guess your point, if it's a long-term goal, it makes sense. But it's just whether you can buy into that.
Do you know what? It's the sensible thing to do.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy. Because remember, when the people who are living at home now are pretty much living a dream life, because they haven't got mortgage debt, they haven't got, the stuff that many adults struggle with in their lives right now. So what you want to do is use that as a bit of leverage, almost a bit of an advantage move back home, you know, keep in good terms with your parents, and
Yeah.
save as aggressively as possible. I'd say at least 50% if you're making an income. And don't move out. Like my wife, I'll give you an example. My wife, Mary, when I met her, she had a lot more money than I did.
Right.
Because she stayed at home.
Right.
She had a lot more savings. She stayed at home saving her money, whereas I moved out and went and tried to buy my own place and took on debt and that sort of stuff. But yeah, but then when we got together, it worked out for both of us.
Wicked. Okay, I'm going to jump on to the next question. So one thing that came up last week, and maybe I'll come to this one again, actually, it's about the book recommendation list. I don't know if you have it ready, or do you want to come back to that?
I've got them ready here.
Yeah, cool. So the question that came in was, after last week, what is your book recommendation list for people who are trying to educate themselves and get better?
Okay, so I'm going to just run you guys through a few things. So the first book I'd recommend is this book called Your Money or Your Life. So my wife is going to drop some links for you guys. Hang on.
Wicked.
I'm just using my wife's iPhone. I'm not sure how to use iPhones. So this book, what this book does is it introduces you to this idea of thinking of your life from the perspective of life energy. So I'll give you an example. Say you earn £10 per hour, but then you are interested in buying a pair of trainers. There's £100. Yeah. Most of us do not think from the perspective of, well, actually, that's 10 hours of my life's energy that I'm putting towards buying a pair of trainers. I've had to literally go and exchange 10 hours of my life's energy to buy a pair of trainers, right? So this book really just helps with the mindset of how you think about money and the need for you to work impossible hours pursuing a lifestyle that no one cares about, right? Which most of us do, pursuing a lifestyle that no one cares about, and swapping that life's energy for that money that you might not even need to the extent that you're doing it. So it's a fantastic book for introducing to the mindset for financial independence. Okay. The second book I'd recommend is this one here, called Essentialism: The Disciplined Pursuit of Less. Okay.
Okay.
This book. So my wife would drop links, by the way, to these books. So this book teaches you about focusing on what's essential in life. Almost, how do you prioritize what is essential in your life? And how do you start to rewire the way you've been brought up so that you can focus on pursuing less in life, counter to our consumerist culture? You are pursuing less in life, but being satisfied with what you are pursuing in life. Okay, so it's a fantastic book for that. It really teaches you about choosing the essential daily and using the essential to make your life a happy one. Okay, it's a fantastic book. Third book I'd recommend is this one here called Designing Your Life.
Oh yeah, heard this one.
So this is a fabulous book for asking you the really important questions about life. If you could sit down with a sheet of paper and design the life that works for you, what does that life look like? Like, what does it look like? Are you working 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week? Are you working 2 jobs? And if you're not working those jobs, what needs to happen for you to adjust your lifestyle to bring it to where you want it to be? Okay, that's what this book is about. And it asks you really important questions like, what's the meaning of work? Why does work exist? Right? Why does work exist at all? And what are you prioritizing in your life? So this book asks you really deep questions, and it gets you to do some really practical exercises for how you work out the priorities in your life. So for example, how often do you prioritize play in your life? So a lot of us, as we become adults, stop playing because we say, well, actually, we're just working and hustling. When in actual fact, for you to achieve that level of happiness, that balance in your life, you need to also prioritize an element of play. What do you do that makes you happy? What do you do that's fun in your life? What do you do that kind of connects your adult life to the childhood life that you maybe had many years ago? So this book takes you on a really interesting journey. Notice, I haven't recommended any financial books yet.
Yes,
right? Because what I'm trying to get you to understand is that this game is about the psychology. It's about the mind. Okay. Right. Fourth book I'd recommend is this one called The War of Arts. So there are 7 books I'm recommending, by the way. So guys, if you can be patient, it's really important. This book here is called The War of Arts. Now, what this book does is that it helps you understand this idea of life from the perspective of resistance. So a lot of us want to achieve creative things in our lives, but we face inner blocks in our mind. We face daily resistance that stops us creating and kind of pushing ourselves to achieve the best that we can in our lives. So this is a really fantastic book for kind of unlocking those kind of inner blocks in your mind for you to then potentially believe in yourself. So I'll give you an example. I'm known as a finance person, but I know that I'm inherently within me wired to be a creative person. So I explore my creativity in helping to solve problems. And it's only when you solve problems that you might be rewarded by making money and things like that. So this book is fantastic for helping you. If you're somebody out there who thinks, well, actually, I don't think I'm creative. I don't think I've got aspects of me that can solve people's problems or help people move forward and potentially make me more money, then you want to be reading books such as these on creativity, because they help you understand almost your inherent wiring as somebody who's creative. Okay?
Yeah.
Next book, Show Your Work. This is a fabulous book because it's very small and it's got lots of pictures in it, which I really like. And this book, the subtext is 10 ways to share your creativity and get discovered. So a lot of us, we use Instagram, we use Facebook, we use all these things, but we're not using it to kind of promote ourselves and get ourselves to be seen and be visible out there. Okay. So I'm meeting with you now, and this is potentially part of my visibility approach. My visibility strategy is for me to get myself uncomfortable, get out there, meet new people, and demonstrate my skills, my talents, my creativity. This book tells you what you should be doing. This sort of stuff you should be doing. So, for example, I mentioned earlier, owning your own domain name. Everybody in the world should own their own domain name. Everybody, as far as I'm aware, people who are watching here should go about and start their own blogs. If you want to become a published author one day, they will publish you if they see that you have a blog or a following that demonstrates that you have people who will respond to you publishing a book, for example. So this book really gets you on that journey. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, this is the next book. This is called Think and Grow Rich. It's a fantastic book for mindset, again, from the perspective of desire and understanding perseverance and understanding the importance of having organized skill sets. This is what this book is about. This book is so important to me. After I read this book, I was able to take the step to buy a property that I hadn't thought I'd be able to make that move and purchase, simply by sitting down, applying my mind and the desire for what I wanted to achieve, taking the practical steps, and making that move over a few months. This book got me there. It's a bit of a thick book, but it's definitely worth getting. Okay. And then the final book I've got, sorry, just to mention, this final one is this book called God at Work. Okay. So not everybody here might be a person of faith or anything like that. But the reason I mention this book is because a lot of us get really frustrated about the work that we do. Okay. The culture of today tells us that working is not cool. You should not be working and stuff like that. But ultimately, we've actually been designed as human beings to solve people's problems, to work, to create value, to get paid, and to find satisfaction in the work that we do. This book really explains to you why you should work. And I think, the reason I mentioned this book met me at a really dark place in my career journey, where I kind of felt like, wow, you know, I'm kind of struggling with a few things, and I needed to kind of understand why I needed to keep working and doing the things I did. And this book by Ken Costa, who you can also follow on Instagram and all those platforms, is a fabulous book for you to check out. Anyway, that's it from me from a book recommendations perspective.
So I guess what we're going to do at the end is we'll compile that list and we'll share it with everyone as well. So I'll put it on my Insta, put a link in the story for everyone to download it, and in my bio as well.
Yeah.
I know your wife has done a great job sharing the link to Amazon as well in the
Oh,
comments.
she's sharing stuff.
Yeah.
Good.
That's awesome. Okay, next question. This is one that came up at the end of the last talk, but we didn't get to go into it deeply. I think it's when did you start the money journey with your children, and kind of what was the first building blocks you put in place? Because you said that they are investors now. You classify them as investors.
Yeah,
they are. So how did you start that process for them, and what can people practically do now with their children at home? Say, I'm going to start with this, and then this, and then that. What can they do?
Okay, so practically, I think ordinarily we think about ourselves as adults. Yeah, we're still, a lot of us are fighting fires. We're trying to survive.
Yeah.
So I think the first thing to do is actually start to have the conversation at home about why investing for the kids is important. So this has to begin with a why. The reason this is important is you have to, because the thing about investing for kids and thinking about the next generation is that it's actually quite difficult, because you're using some of the money you're making and putting it aside for children who you don't even know how they're going to show up in the future. They might turn out to be stubborn kids, and you might not want to give them the money anymore, right? So you have to decide and have that conversation at home. Why are we doing this? So for us, the big motivation was that we wanted to change the game generationally for my family, right?
Yeah.
I didn't want my kids kind of starting at a much lower level. I wanted them to have a different level of advantage. Yeah. Once you've agreed what your why is for doing it, you then start to take practical steps of saying to yourself, well, actually, what aspect of our budget, what percentage of our budget every month should we carve out for our children? Okay. It might be that you say we'll start with 2% of our monthly net income. It might be that you say, well, actually, we've got 2 kids, we do £50 each in each account. Okay. Yeah. If you've decided an amount, question then is where do I put that money? How do I then invest that money for the children? You typically go out there and open a junior ISA, which is a junior investment account for children, a stocks and shares investment account. And again, I'd recommend, depending on how old your children are, get them involved in the process, i.e. talk to them about what you're doing. Just say to them, look, we're talking about you guys and opening accounts for you. This is what we're thinking about doing. You can't touch this money till you're 18, but we're taking the steps to invest for your future. Okay. Once you do that, I recommend that people head out there. And remember, with investing for kids, it's all about the long term. Okay. So you probably have a kind of possibly 5, 10, 15 years, 20-year horizon to invest. So you want to invest in things that will create value for you and generate returns over time. So I recommend investing in index funds and ETFs. So globally diversified index funds and ETFs. By that, I mean things called trackers that track a particular marketplace, a particular index. So for example, the S&P 500 in America is a list of the top 500 companies in the US equities market. You can invest from London, from Birmingham, from wherever you are. You can actually invest in those companies with as little as £50 per month. Because what you're doing is investing in what's known as a fund structure. And that fund is then onwardly invested in little bits into those various companies. The advantage that gives you is that your money is also diversified. That reduces what we refer to as a specific risk to these individual companies. So even if one of them went bust, your child's money does not disappear. So the beauty of doing this is that you gain 2 things from investing for your child this way. Your investment goes up in value over time, but the child's investment also generates dividend income, which you then reinvest and use the power of compounding interest. Okay, so if some of this stuff is a bit confusing to anybody, we'll share links as well. I've done a very specific video on how you can go about making your child a millionaire in the future. Okay, we will share that link below. You can watch that video on YouTube, and there are very actionable steps for you to take to get started.
So this is a good point to let everyone know who's watching that Ken runs The Humble Penny, which is a website and a YouTube channel, thehumblepenny.com and The Humble Penny on YouTube. On there, Ken has made a ton of videos that put you in the right direction for a lot of the questions you're asking in the comments as well. So we've got a comment about children's books and stuff. So we can talk about that offline, and we'll share that as a link as well, Ken.
Yeah.
And also any platforms that you kind of use or you recommend for investment. I don't want to put you in a situation where you're saying, I will tell you to use this.
Yes.
but you can definitely recommend some things that if people investigate themselves, they can then make a choice about how to invest in that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I can mention now, for example,
Yeah.
really platforms we use are Hargreaves Lansdown. So
Yeah.
Hargreaves Lansdown, you can check out. We'll drop a link as well.
Yeah.
And another platform called Vanguard. So Vanguard is an American platform, but they have a UK, a very good UK platform for opening a junior ISA, or if you're an adult who wants to open an investment account for yourself, you can also check them out and get started with investing with them if you find them suitable for you. The reason, by the way, we use these two platforms is Vanguard is very low cost, but they are also innovators. They're actually the original inventors of the index fund. Okay, if you don't understand these terminologies, please head over to our channel. We really explain it in a really simplistic way. But they are the founders, almost the innovators of the index fund technology, and they are known for their low-cost provision of various funds. That's why we use Vanguard. And we use Hargreaves Lansdown because Hargreaves, think of them as a supermarket, a bit like Sainsbury's or Tesco. They basically sell various products from various other manufacturers. So they therefore have products from Vanguard, from lots of other asset management companies. And so we use them because we can buy, say I wanted to buy Apple shares or Amazon shares or that sort of stuff, I can easily buy it on a platform like Hargreaves Lansdown from the comfort of my mobile phone.
Right.
So that's why we use those two.
So I think I saw a page on your website that we can direct people to that has like a list of the things you use. Anyway, I saw
Yes.
Hargreaves and Vanguard, and
we'll share the link with you guys.
Yeah, so we'll share that later on. But I just want to say to everyone who's watching, guys, this stuff you're getting now is gold dust. So I'm making notes. I've got my notes, but I'm asking Ken questions and I'm writing the answers for myself. So I hope you guys are doing the same thing. We're going to move on to the next question. So this is a really good one, Ken. Based on my income, is there a formula for saving and spending and investing that I should be following? So taking my £1,000 a month or my £15,000 a month, whatever we earn, what should I be doing percentage-wise or formula-wise that will make me better off in the long run?
Okay, so let's say you make £1,000 per month. Let's keep it really simple. I would say live on a maximum of £700.
Right.
Okay,
70%.
70%. Yeah. Look to save a minimum of 20% of your income. Now, you might be saying, "Oh no, Ken, that's a bit crazy." But I'll tell you why. The biggest indicator of your potential to become financially secure and eventually financially independent in the future is a metric known as your savings rate. It's the number one key defining metric for whether you are going to be hitting that goal. Yeah, right. Number one. So the higher your savings rate, the lower the number of years you have to work in the future. It's actually, honestly, it's so mind-blowing when you understand what I'm saying, okay? Let's say you think to yourself, you're going to be working till you're 65.
Yeah.
And I said to you that if you increase your savings rate from 10% to maybe 30% or 35%, it actually knocks off, remember, by saving, I mean money you put aside and then invest, okay? So it's working for you. That's what I mean when I say savings. It's not just sitting in a bank account. It's in the right environment to generate an above inflation return, i.e. a return that's more than the level of inflation.
Yeah.
So the higher that savings rate, the lower the number of years you need mandatory work, i.e. the number of years you need to hustle to keep yourself afloat. Right. So anybody right now listening to me, I'd say to you, do you know what your savings rate is? If you don't know, the savings rate is the percentage of your net income, so the money that hits your bank account, the percentage of it every month that you put aside and invest. So you save and invest. Now, it might be that you're not investing it yet, but at least you're saving it. What is that percentage? If you don't know that number, please sit with your partner if you've got one, have a chat, discuss and agree to a number. Because if you agree to a number, then you can start to save towards it. So I'd say 70% max on living expenses, 10 to 20% on saving and investing. Yeah. And then the other 10%, some of you might put towards giving or 5%, or whatever it is you do in your life. you can use that for that. But what you ultimately want to do is then, as time passes, that 70% needs to start to come down.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that only happens by you simplifying your lifestyle or making more money as time passes without having lifestyle creep, which is what most of us suffer from as we make more money.
So that leads on to a great question then, Ken. Building on the idea of building that program of 70% spending, pay all my bills, everything I need to do, 20% saving, 10% for tithing, say, giving, whatever you want to do with that, you know. The question is, like, how do I, what routines or patterns can I build into my behavior that will make me more disciplined, that will make it so simple? Like, what is the process? Like, every month, they get paid, do this or do that. What do you recommend?
Okay, so because we're naturally emotional creatures as human beings, we should not rely on our own emotions to make those decisions about money. So what you need to put into place are automations that force you to save and invest your money. By that I mean, say for example, if your money comes in, today's the 24th of each month, what you want to be doing is, on that day that your money comes in, there needs to be a standing order that moves a percentage of your money to another account that you can't ordinarily access, whatever you want.
Yeah.
Don't just put it into like your current account. You want it to automatically leave your account and go somewhere else. Okay. Then there's the next question, which is, if it's in that account, what then is that money doing? How is it then working for me? So some people, what they do is they don't put it into another account. They put it straight into their investing account and automatically buy the same investments every year, which is what I'd recommend. If you are somebody who's gone past the stage of opening an investment account, that sort of stuff, do not waste time leaving the money sitting in an account. Invest it by automation, i.e. set up a standing order with your investing platform. That means that every single month you are investing that money automatically. So what that does is it gets you accustomed to actually investing. It becomes a part, it becomes like a bill. You feel like, oh, I've paid that bill, I've paid it. It's gone. Yeah. So set up an automation. Second thing I'd say is make budgeting. I know this budgeting sounds like a buzzword. Yeah. And you're like, oh yeah, I understand budgeting. But if you're really not using it in your life, then you don't understand it. Because what a budget is, it's a plan for how you're going to distribute your income. Yeah. Yeah. So think of it like a business. Businesses use budgeting as tools to manage their finances so that they can track how much they are making, how much they're spending. And every month they're saying, how much did I think I was going to spend? And how much did I actually spend? And then they sit down and they compare the two of them. Yeah. Why are we not doing that in our personal lives? Why are we not sitting down and having that conversation? The reason we're not is because we're on Instagram and we're on Facebook. Yeah. And we're on all these platforms. And we don't sit down and have that chat between ourselves. So I'd say everybody should have a money day in their homes. Sit with your partner, diarize it. It might be the first of each month. What you do on that day is you sit down and say, right, let's make ourselves a cup of tea and just talk about our money. Where has all our money gone? Yeah. What have we been doing to it? How did we perform in the last month? Did we think, okay, let's say you thought you were going to spend, I don't know, £700 on all your bills. Did you actually spend £700 or less, or did you spend more? And if you spend more than that, where did the money go? Yeah. So it's these conversations that helps you understand your money, and then therefore forces you to almost self-regulate the expenses that leave your life. And if you can self-regulate those expenses, then you find yourself spending less than you're making. That's really, anybody who's living paycheck to paycheck is doing this. They're spending most of what they're making, or they're spending more than they're making because they've got credit card debt introduced into their lives. And so they can't keep track of where all the money is going because they don't know if they're spending their own money or if they're spending credit card money. They can't keep track of it. But what you ultimately want to do if you're going to maintain that idea of your savings rate is to make sure that your income always exceeds the expense. And if you can keep this number as low and as fixed as possible, and this number always itching upwards, then you're winning. Right.
That leads me to another question. It's not the one I've got planned next, but I think it's an apt one. So somebody asked, they said that Ooh, how can I get out of living in my overdraft and stay out of my overdraft? So the money day thing, phenomenal. I love that. I think this probably starts with that. But what's this? I think we discussed it last week when I talked to you. You said, what would you suggest to somebody who's living in overdraft and just for some reason just can't get out of it and every month going back? What would you suggest?
So first of all, before I even go into that, I just want to mention that anyone who's living or spending from an overdraft, first of all, in a way, I actually understand, because this is a real challenge for a lot of people trying to get out of the overdraft. I actually get it. But I should mention that the law has changed in the UK, and overdraft interest rates are now hitting around 30, 35, even up to 40%.
Yeah.
So overdraft interest rates are now on par with credit card interest rates. This came in under all the noise with Brexit and COVID and all the weird things that have been going on, right? So a lot of families right now, if you're in an overdraft, you want to make sure you pay very close attention and almost pretty much prioritize coming out of it. Now, how do you get out of the overdraft? Okay, so first of all, I think you need to really go back to the basics of, because what the overdraft essentially is an extension of your life. It's an indication that you are living above your preferred lifestyle. You're kind of living above your means in a way. Because what happens is, let's say, imagine your bank called you and said, do you know what? We're going to cut you off this month. You're never going to have access to that overdraft, and that's it. What you end up doing, you say to yourself, you have an emergency meeting with your partner, and you say, well, actually, they've cut us off. How much are we making, and how much are we spending? You will begin immediately to analyze where all your money is going. You make radical decisions around, right, we're spending money on this. Do we need to be paying for it? We're paying for Sky TV. Do we really need to be paying for it? We're paying for all these things. Do we need to be paying for it? So what you really want to figure out if you're in your overdraft right now is, how long with your current level of potential savings, how long will it take to get out if you can manage to save £100 per month or £200 per month, and come up with a plan? So say your overdraft is say £2,000 and you're constantly on this revolving door. What you want to do is be able to build a bit of a buffer in your finances each month of maybe £100 or £200 per month, such that you are gradually over the next 10 months digging your way out of that overdraft. And I know it's difficult, but it's actually entirely doable. It's the same thing that happens when people are in almost perpetual credit card debt. You have to, at some point, and what I say to people is, you have to wean yourself off the credit card. You have to, because it's actually quite abnormal to spend all kind of regular expenses on a credit card. I think I spoke to you about this before when we were speaking offline, and I said to you, the history of credit cards, I'm just going to mention it very briefly. The history of credit cards, back when credit cards were not what we see today, it was actually a requirement that if you had a credit card balance, you had to pay it off at the end of each month. But now, the rules are you can keep rolling over credit card balances from one month to another. Now, why would they do that to us? The reason they do that is because credit card balances are expensive. And in the books of the banks, the credit card is an asset. Just as in your books and my books, the credit card is a liability. So for them, it's something that's generating an income. So we have to almost go back to the original plan for what debt was meant to be for. If you're taking debt, debt's meant to be paid off at a specific point in time. You're meant to get to a point and say, well, actually, I've had enough of living in this revolving door. I've got to actually wean myself off this source of debt and stop seeing it as the regular thing to be doing. But I understand it's difficult. I really do.
So let's say I've taken myself out of that situation now. I'm out of debt. I've got a little bit of extra money each month now, and I want to invest it. So how do I get started with investing? So like £100 a month. How do I invest it, and what options are there for me to start right now, like today? What can I do?
Right. Let's say you're an adult. You'd head over and open yourself a stocks and shares ISA. Okay. That account lets you buy stocks and shares, as the name implies, as well as funds and things like that. You can open one of these very easily with any of those platforms I mentioned earlier, and you can open it in a day. Okay. Once you need, by the way, to open one, you need your bank account details and your national insurance number. Once you've opened that account, You then want to ask yourself, what do I want to be investing in for my money not to disappear? Now, you might say, oh, I love my iPad, so therefore I'm going to go and buy Apple shares. Now, whilst that's exciting and it's interesting, what that means is that you've got a specific exposure to Apple.
Yeah.
So if Apple goes bust, which highly unlikely, but if it does go bust, your money also disappears with that company.
Yeah.
So what you want to do, if you're fairly new to investing, is say to yourself, well, how can I invest this money such that it doesn't disappear? And the beauty of today, this is something we take for granted so much, but the beauty of today is that with this mobile phone I'm speaking to you on, I can, if I wanted, own the 100 companies on the FTSE 100. The FTSE 100 being the list of the 100 largest companies listed on the UK, the stock exchange in the UK. You can own a piece of those companies by investing in things known as indexes or trackers. Trackers are, there are two forms, an index fund or an ETF. An ETF stands for an exchange traded fund. They're doing the same thing really. In very simple terms, what it's doing is it's saying you can take your £100 per month and every single month buy a FTSE 100 index fund, a tracker that essentially invests in each of those 100 companies. And so with your £100, you will then start to see as time passes, your money starts to grow as each of those companies start to work for you. With your £100, all the employees of all those companies are ultimately working for you because they're working to make your money work harder. Let's not forget, the reason this matters is each of us, we've got 24 hours a day, we'll probably work 8 hours a day or 10 hours or whatever it is people work, but money doesn't have a time shift. It doesn't check in and check out. It's always working 24/7. So when you put your money into those companies, when they're performing and sitting in their boardrooms and talking about future performance, they are talking about how to make you successful with your £100 per month. Amazing. So the key is to have that money in the right environment. And I highly recommend that if you're starting out really small, focus on low-cost global trackers, index funds, and ETFs. We've got videos on our YouTube channel at The Humble Penny where I've gone into a ton of detail about this stuff. If you're interested, head over there. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe, by the way. Support the channel, support the channel. But head over there and watch the videos because we're doing this because we want people to change the game for their families. We want them to take the steps. And only when you do that, because remember, the real asset is not the investment. The real asset is time. Yeah, it's time. Yeah, because if you put your money in today, you just forget about it if you put it in the right place. And then you let time do the work and let that work for you. Amazing.
So a question that came in that ties into this, Ken, was the oil question. So at the moment, we know the oil price is just crazy. It's basically zero, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not technically zero, but it's zero. So if you are looking to invest maybe in oil for the first time, maybe haven't got into it, what is your take on it? And is it something that maybe we should be looking at now and getting involved in?
Okay, so here's the thing, right? I have a very important rule, which is don't invest in anything you don't understand. Right. Okay? Right? So everybody you hear across all the socials and all of that, there's WhatsApp groups where people spam you with so many things. People were talking about, oh, buy oil, buy all these things. And not even 10% of the people in that group understand what they're talking about. Yeah. Okay. So I'd say focus on buying what you actually understand. That's number one. I personally am not buying oil, right? Because I know that the movement of oil, the demand and supply, the power for supply of oil really rests in the hands of certain countries. I know that, right? So I'm thinking to myself, well, actually, where do I want my money working? Would I much rather have it working at Amazon or somewhere, or one of those companies in America, or other companies I'm interested in? Or would I say, I'm going to put it into some random commodity called oil, right? That's a question for somebody to ponder on and decide upon that. The reason I would go the other way is because investing in some of the stuff I'm talking about is liquid. Liquid means you can easily take your money and say, all right, I've had enough. I want to put it into cash and get it back. And you get it back the next day.
Yeah.
Now, if you put your money into oil, not saying you shouldn't, but I'm just saying, you have to be prepared to take the risk.
Yeah.
Because you've got to go back to that first principle. Did you understand oil? Did you really understand it? Or were you just thinking, yeah, this kind of looks like a pun. I really want to jump in and just do it. And then you take all that money, let's not forget, your life's energy. You had to work you had to work very hard for that money. You take that money, and at the click of a button, you sit in your comfy sofa having a hot chocolate, and you click that button, and you invest that money into that thing you don't understand. Yeah. Right? If you're doing that, then I'd highly recommend, please do not do it. Buy into something you're comfortable with, you understand, and you can see how it can potentially work for you, right? Yeah. That's my personal view.
Great. It's a question that's come up a couple of times, and I thought, because we don't really genuinely understand how that market works at all, it's just something that people kind of putting their finger into. I'm like, well, wait, Ken will know what to say about that. So the next question for you, Ken, we're doing quite well, but we've got a few to get through. So I'll go straight into it. So the next question is, no pension at 50. Is buying an investment property a better option than trying to build a pension quickly now? Or what's the best thing for somebody at 50 to do with no pension?
All right. So the thing you've got to understand with buying a property, and this is the thing, a lot of our communities, we have this obsession with property, right? I'm going to tell you now, I like property and I hate property as well. I'll tell you why, right? Property, investing in property comes with a really high upfront cost. Yeah. Really, really high. You're paying a ton in stamp duty, and you're paying a ton in legal fees and what have you. What you've got to ask yourself is, what's the best return? Remember, all these things come down to return. What's the best return I can get from this asset class? Right? Now, look at the UK and look at what returns people are getting on average, right? People aren't getting blockbuster returns. So you want to ask yourself, is the money I've got better off working somewhere where I'm not giving away a lot of it in tax and expenses? Because remember, you're 50, right? So you don't want to be doing something that means that when you've purchased this one asset, this one thing, you've paid out like 20 grand in stamp duty or something. Not forgetting that that's the money you're trying to preserve. So I personally, at that age, I will first invest in more liquid sources of investment. I would head towards doing some of the things I've been telling you right now, but doing it from a pension account, a thing known as a self-invested personal pension or pension plan, a SIPP, S-I-P-P. You can open one at those platforms I mentioned. And what you want to do, the reason this account matters is when you put money into a pension account, the government give you back a rebate. So if you put, get this, if you put £80 into a pension, the government give you back £20 in 4 weeks, right? And if you're a higher rate taxpayer, you can then claim back another £20 through your tax return. So for your £80, let's just make it up, call it £80,000. For your £80,000, you're getting back 20,000 within about 4 weeks. And then you're getting back another 20,000 pounds for your higher rate taxpayer through your tax returns. So let's not forget, you've not paid out stamp duty and all those things, but you've actually gotten more money. And let's not forget, it's an investment. That money will be working for you because you put it in the right environment. Right. And it's liquid. By that I mean you can easily convert it into cash. So this obsession with property, I'm not saying property is a bad thing. We've got property, right? But I'm saying you've got to, first of all, choose the right asset class that does the work for you, for your circumstance, and not default to property. You can do property later on as a strategy for diversifying your investments. Yeah. But it shouldn't be the default investment, especially for somebody at the age of 50.
Right. That's wicked. That advice there, if you see in the comments, everyone's like, wow. Because I've never even heard of anything like that before. And I've got a pension, obviously, but I'm going to do something like that as well because I want to get the most out of my money. To keep going anyway. This question is a bit of a weird one, Ken, and I don't know how to answer it, but it's how do you make money with no money? I don't know how, you know, and even investments need money. So as little as it may be, how do you start with basically nothing? Is there something you can do?
The very first way I'd say anyone can make money with no money is to swap their time for money. I'll give you an example. When I started The Humble Penny, it was a brand new website. And I keep reiterating, everyone should own their own domain, right? I started, bought the domain, designed the website with about something less than $200. Yeah, because I found somebody to help me in America. And then obviously I've spent a lot more time, a lot more money as time starts to develop it. Yeah. But the key point I wanted to make was the first way I made money on the site was by offering my services, my talent, my abilities as a coach, right? Everybody watching this has almost a sitting on insane potential, but they lack so much belief in themselves that they do not put up a paywall to say, look, I've got this expertise. If you want this expertise, you got to pay me some money, right? So the easy way to make some money with no money is to do a skills audit. Sit down and ask yourself, what am I good at, right? Are you good at cooking? Are you good at researching stuff? Are you good at communicating? What on earth are you good at? And don't tell me you're not good at anything. Yeah. That's just rubbish. Because you are good at stuff, but it's more your belief in what you're good at. Then what you want to do is start to use those things you're good at to start to ask yourself, well, actually, how could I potentially offer this as a service? Because remember, at the beginning of any form of money making, this is kind of the beginning part. You have to offer your time in exchange. It's only when you started to make some money that you start to think in the way everybody thinks, I want some passive income. That doesn't just walk into your life. You got to make some money first, that you then think, well, actually, how do I reinvest some of that money to then make money start to work for me? Amazing. I hope that answers. I hope that's clear and answers that question.
It does. I want to pop back to another question, just because it's a really quick one. Yeah. Just for clarification, because somebody invests in a help to buy ISA and also in a stock and shares ISA in the same year. Is there any legislation on that?
Yes. So, but there's a cap on your allowance, your total allowance per year. Yes.
Right. Okay, cool. Yeah. Right, the next one. You kind of answered this one a little bit, but just quickly, what apps do you recommend for saving and investment? I know you said you go into like Vanguard and Hargreaves. Yeah.
There is one more app. There's an app called Chip. CHIP. Yeah. Which you guys can check out. It's basically it's an AI. The technology helps you basically save little bits of money every day, essentially. So if you're somebody who's just not good at saving, it takes some of that money away and saves it for you in a different account. Okay. Yeah. Other than that, I've mentioned some of the platforms: Hargreaves Lansdown, the Share Center. That's another platform. Vanguard. That's another platform that you can check out to get started with saving or investing money.
Okay. I mean, I use Chip, and it's really good. It takes out sometimes £2, £2, £15, £100, depending on what's on your account at the time and your own like spending patterns. It learns your patterns and saves it. And if you get desperate, you can withdraw it back into your account if you need to as well. But you don't need to do that. But yeah. Okay. Next question. This is a good one. Millennials, how much money should they realistically aim to save and work to in their 20s, 30s, and 40s? So is there a strategy in your 20s, 30s, and 40s for saving for millennials? What should I do?
So I understand this group. So I'm in this millennial group. But what I'd highly recommend is that you might start off at, say, 10% of savings. But I think the bigger thing is to just focus on the idea that as you get older, you should be upping your savings rate. So to give you an example, at one stage on our journey towards financial independence, and we became financially independent in 2017, at one stage on that journey, we were saving and investing 60% of our net income. Okay. Wow. Now, some people can get to that stage themselves by managing their lifestyles and making more money ultimately. So I'd say if you're in your 20s, start up as much as you can. You're living at home potentially. You want to be saving more than 50% of your income. In your 30s, you're probably dating somebody, you're starting a family, and you're becoming an adult, and all these life expenses show up. You want to make sure you keep at least 20% of your income saved and invested. And what you ultimately want to do as you head into your 40s is start to head to that point where you can say, I'm saving 40% of my net income. And I know that's difficult, right? But it's possible. The reason it's possible is you've got to get to a point in your level of self-awareness where your lifestyle is something that you're living based on your own convictions, not driven by what anybody else thinks. And if you can simplify your lifestyle enough, if you can do that and focus on using your skills, your talents, your abilities, your inbuilt creativity to make yourself more income, keeping your lifestyle the same, but your income going up, your savings rates rockets. Right. And that's what we've been able to do. And this is what happens when you start to generate income from different other sources. You dedicate that towards increasing your savings rate and committing that towards investing in various asset classes as time passes.
Amazing. So we literally got 4 minutes left.
Go on.
We've got we can maybe go on about 5 minutes extra, but I'm very respectful of your time.
Yeah.
You too. I'm going to take probably one more question out of here, and I've got a few coming through the actual live.
I'm amazed by how many people are watching. So, guys, thank you so much. Honestly, really appreciate you guys showing up.
Ken, there's people talking about giving you a knighthood in here, so there's a lot for you in here right now. I would say the probably best question to ask next on here is, how do I achieve financial freedom as a single person without a partner and their additional income? So you talked about you and your wife, doing 60% of your income. If you're by yourself, maybe later on in life or wherever, and you don't have that dual income to kind of balance things out, just quick advice, what would you do in that situation? How would you get
By the way, I've got to mention, we haven't always had dual income. Because times when my wife had the baby, when we had children, we've got 2 kids, she had to take time off work and stuff like that, right? So we haven't always had that dual income. That's something just to mention. Right. So is this person who's asking the question, do they have kids?
Yeah, but the person who asked it has got basically adult children, so they're all kind of old enough to sustain themselves pretty much.
Okay, so the fastest way possible is to get yourself attached to people who've either done it or on that journey, right? So this is like one of the fastest ways to stop yourself wasting your time and doing things that don't make sense, okay? Or doing things that might be costly to you. You want to get yourself attached to people who can say to you, no, don't do that, or do that because of X, Y, and Z, okay? So that's one of the things I recommend. So find somebody, anybody you know who's been on the journey, message them, contact them, get in touch with them, and try and learn from them. Now, don't just think of this as a freebie. I know we're accustomed to wanting to get things for free. Yeah. It might cost you something, but find somebody and get yourself attached to them. Secondly, you want to start to begin this concept of life design. If you wanted a particular life, what does that life look like, and how much in the future do you need to create that life? The question then becomes, where are you now? Where are you trying to get to? And using that connection you have through that person and possibly other people, how can you navigate the gap between where you are and where you're trying to get to? There's a lot more to it, but we've got such limited time. You can write me an email. I can kind of share more thoughts with you.
We've literally got
email to ken@thehumblepenny.com if you want to just drop me an email.
Right. So just because Instagram Live is limited to an hour, apparently, I didn't know this. But it's saying we've got 1 hour, 1 minute, 24 seconds left for us to go. So before we wrap up, because I know we've got some more questions, everyone has kind of been saying they want a part 3. I will talk to you about the offer. But I'm not going to put you under pressure online live. But I think it would be very, very beneficial for us to come back at some point and do something else. But before we go, guys, I want to let you know that Ken is literally doing this. He's just having a conversation with us very freely, very openly, in a way that probably you'll never hear anybody anywhere else. Yeah. So if you want to find out more about Ken, go to thehumblepenny.com and also Financial Joy Academy, and also go to YouTube and type in Humble Penny and click subscribe. I'm not selling anything to you. Ken's not selling anything to you. We just want you to have financial freedom, education, and to build generational wealth into your families from as young as your kids are to now. We've got 40 seconds left. So before we go, I did this thing earlier, Ken. I didn't tell you this, but I said that if we got over 500 people on live, which we've got way more than that, which is amazing, that I would give somebody the chance to get their first £100 to invest in something you said. So anybody watching this now, post something on your Instagram page or story. No, on your page, on your grid. Tag me and Ken, Humble Penny.
At the Humble Penny, yeah.
At the Humble Penny. And we'll tag what you want, what you're going to do with the investment, what you want to do. And we'll find somebody and we'll give you £100 to start your first investment. We've got 5 seconds left, Ken. Thank you so much for everything.
Much love, guys.
We love you guys.
Thank you.